Yeah, I mean that's soccer for you. Sometimes you pull all the right levers and you lose, and sometimes you play terrible and you win, and that's the brutal nature of the game. It's obviously tough for the guys to put in the effort they did all week, and obviously in the game to for it to end like that. But again, it's a tough lesson for us to understand that you have to go 90 minutes, and even though it was 89 minutes and how many seconds? 20. It wasn't the full 90. And so we switched off for that half a second and lost a mark. And, the qualities that a team like Saginaw has, they're going to punish you. And that's what they did. So although we know we could have won the game and that we can play with the best, to win the league, you have to win those games against other teams that are competing for the championship. You have to knock them off to try to get 3 points from them. So unfortunately, we didn't do the job. However, we've got another crack at it on Sunday. And that's the beautiful part about soccer is there's always another day. And we've got Parkside that tied Saginaw on Sunday 0-0 coming to town. So it's another opportunity for us to continue to get better and show everybody that we can compete for this thing. But at this time of the season, you have to get the job done. And that's where we're at. That's a great question. It's a shame, too, because you could say that for those games, they did their job. They didn't concede, and they've done really, really well. And again on Friday, holding down a team that had scored 3 to 4 goals a game for 5 straight games to really limited amount of chances. That was probably the most clear shot on goal they had all game. And so I don't think it's really correcting just the defensive unit. I think it's a combination of things. I look at it as fitness. Right, it's at the end of the game. You've played 90 minutes. You've played almost 40 minutes straight for the second half when you're already gassed. And so if we're not able to finish the job like Quincy when it was hot, Purdue when we were playing bad, just getting out of there with a point, and then again on Friday against Saginaw, actually playing really, really well, I think it comes down to a couple things, but fitness would be one of them. And that's something that we're going to continue to get better at as we play. The game is the best fitness. However, in this time period of these 2 weeks, we can actually train rather than recover because we don't have 2 games a weekend and we're not playing on Sunday and recovering until Wednesday. And so these 2 weeks we can actually push and try to improve on fitness, which is really rare mid-season. And, that's something in the preseason, mostly during the year, you're recovering and keeping the body fresh for the weekend. We have got a couple extra days to prepare for Sunday's match, so that's something we can address. So we feel good about, even though we're giving up some late goals and having some lapses in concentration, we feel like it's a preventable problem, and that's probably a good problem to have, not a bad one. So, so we try to do our best to rotate as much as we can. In soccer, if you come out in the first half on a substitution, you can't re-enter until the second half. In the second half, however, you can get one re-entry, so you can come off and come back on. So what we try to do is maximize the re-entries with the guys that are rotating through those positions. And we feel really strong about having rotations in just about every position. You don't really rotate the guys in the back very much. You want to keep them solid and stout. They're in there most of the time if they're doing well and if they're completing passes and defending. You kind of don't mess with that. But the central midfield guys that are doing the most running, the wingers that do a lot of the hard running, and even your 9 who's that first defender, we try to rotate them so that we're at the end of the game, the guys that you want sort of the ball in their hands at the end of the game, that they're there and they're not gassed. And so maybe that's also us doing a better job of rotating and making sure that the guys we want in the field in those closing moments are fit and able to get the job done. But we feel good about where we are. We've had some rest this weekend. The guys are ready to get back after it. And I think there's a real sense of urgency now that we know we can play with these guys, but we need to get the job done. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from the players. And I think that's a good place to be, is the players are driving out, not the coaches. So we'll get down to tactics and game plan Parkside, but they're going to show up today. It's raining. It'll be fun training. And we're going to get back after it, and that's the best thing about the game. So, well, it says a lot. It says a lot about their maturity, their focus, and how committed they've been to this process. So, since I took over in June, and it says a lot about their maturity actually, to go from the struggles that they had on the pitch to being in these games. And so I think we're still in that changing that mindset, and that's probably our biggest hurdle. Is not the physical or the soccer side or the technical side or even the tactical side. You saw us execute a phenomenal game plan on Friday, but it's the mind shift paradigm of just trying to be in games to being in games and winning them. And so that is that's the struggle that we're kind of in right now, and we'll get there for sure. But it also says a lot about Northern Michigan as a university, as an athletic department, and as just a unique, desirable place to be for soccer players. And so because we went out and recruited, 8 quality footballers that could come in and join this team right away and help contribute, and you see that right away. So I think it gives us a lot of pleasure as a staff to know, hey, we've got a really great core of guys that still have a lot of years left of eligibility that have been here and kind of know how Marquette and Northern works, but we can also bring guys in, right? And so now we feel like we're really in a special place. So regardless of the bigger picture, we don't want to lose this opportunity right now because we feel like you said, that we can play with some of the best. So we're not really looking. We always look forward when we're recruiting and trying to build the program, but we're really tuned into right now because we feel like this is an opportunity that we can't let slip, especially for those seniors. It's their last season, and we want to make sure that we give it a go for them. Yeah, they're a great team. They won the conference last year, the double. I think they won it 2 or 3 years ago as well. So they're perennial. Jason's a great coach. He's very experienced. He's been there 12, 13 years as a head coach. He was there as an assistant before. So they're kind of on autopilot. They're a good program. They're solid. They're never going to be easy to beat. And so we're going to have to, be at our best to try to knock them off. They're a good possession-based team. It's going to be a little similar to what we saw Friday. They're not very direct the way Saginaw was coming in. So what we'll try to do is try to make them play direct and do our best to stop their possession. But at the same time, they're an experienced team. They're on a week's rest. They know that this is a big game for them to try to get back in the race for the title because the following game they play Saginaw at Saginaw. And then we play at Saginaw that Sunday. So right now there's like a sort of a mini tournament of the teams that are, in those top 3 places. And so it's kind of, surviving this little gauntlet and hoping we can get ourselves in healthy and in a good position to win some games down the stretch, get a good playoff position, and hopefully host a game or get a bye. So that's sort of where our focus is. But it's going to be a battle, and hopefully Sunday afternoon the weather's going to be decent, right? We can get the community out and hopefully get a big win after the girls get a big win on the Dome on Friday night. So.